So today I'm delighted to be joined by a world-renowned sculptor, best known for his art, um, Horses of Helios, the City Crusader, and the Three Graces. Um, he started off in West London, Acton's very own Rudy Weller. Rudy, thank you so much for having us today and inviting us into your home. I'm very excited to, obviously speak, get to know you a bit more and have a walk around the sculptures later. So Rudy, let's start in the beginning. You were born in Shepherd's Bush. You moved to Acton when you were 7.
Yes.
Give us a bit of a background of your first memories that you had.
Well, I'm from West London, so I started off actually in West 6 in Cardross Street. It was a family home, a small 2 up, 2 down. They call it Brackenbury Village now.
Okay.
Back in those days, they were so cheap to buy these houses that they only sold them in blocks of 4 or 6. They wouldn't sell one.
That's amazing.
So my family were there for 4 generations, and I was born in Duquesne Road. I went back to Cardross Street, and me, my brother, mum and dad, we lived in a kitchen, and it was probably 8 foot square. So there's only 2 up, 2 down.
Yeah.
My dad had his brother there with his wife, and my grandparents lived downstairs. So
That is remarkable, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got remarkable parents. Let's speak a bit about them. So your dad, he was the head teacher at East Acton Infants, now known as East Acton Primary.
Yes.
And he was part of the RAF. He started when he was 17, right?
He did. Can I go back a
Of
bit
course,
further?
yes.
Right. So from Cardross Street, my dad, he realised that he had to get out. He had to get a house. So he was almost one of the early property developers. And when he got married, my parents eloped to Gretna Green. They're very young. They borrowed a tenner to get married.
There we go.
So they had absolutely
I love
nothing.
that.
They had absolutely nothing. But pretty soon, they were both hard workers. My dad probably held down 4 jobs. He worked at Shepherd's Bush Market. He worked at a night school as a gym instructor. He was always building cars and motorbikes and selling them. And he worked on the post office, GPO. So by his sort of mid-20s, he owned 3 houses, all in the Shepherd's Bush area, all around the Molina Road. And they were cheap to buy back then. 1,500 quid, 2 grand, you could buy a house.
What year are we talking?
We're talking sort of mid-1950s.
Okay.
But it came to a very quick stop because the very first house he was renting out, the very first lodger, these houses had like a sub-basement and 2 stories above. The very first lodger came in, he didn't have a lot of money, so my dad did him a good deal, but he had the sub-basement, him and his wife. But what my dad didn't know, they had 5 kids. And every week, another kid would turn up. So in the end, they had the whole house for the same price. Then, my dad also didn't realise the guy did not have a job. So once his savings or a small amount of cash he had run out, my dad not only didn't charge rent, he was subsidising them, giving them money for food. So my dad was basically looking after 2 families and 2 mortgages. He realised it wasn't for him. So he got out of the development game and owning property at a young age, which was very sad because that was the time to buy. And property, I've talked to many people about how expensive it is now. People in those days were, and I'm talking about 3 people I know, were actually offered the house free of charge. They were offered to be given the house. Do you want this house?
That's
and they turned it
incredible
down.
Opportunity.
And getting back to Cardross Street's West 6. It's sort of in between Goldbrook Road and Hammersmith. High Street. Those houses now, like I say, they you could buy them for £500. Now they're upwards of 1.5 million.
That would have been
They
a good
start at
investment,
one,
right? Yeah.
Start at 1.5. So these tiny little houses are very desirable.
Yes.
There shouldn't be a property shortage in London.
No.
Build more houses like Cardra Street.
Well, it's a good investment to invest in London, yeah.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
Yeah. And going on to your mother, now she's an incredible woman.
Yeah,
She was given name from the Queen herself.
she was for education, for services
for
to
service to
education.
education.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about her and how it came about, because I know you got a picture. We'll look at that picture later of your mother and the Queen.
Yeah, I'll show you. Like I say, my parents got married very young. 4 children by her early 20s from my mother. They both went back to college and trained to become teachers. So the early years, I could just remember the pair of them. They were always working, always busy. And my mum would she would go down Shepherd's Bush Market, buy material. It's probably still there, a shop called Dave's. And he would save her remnants of the end of the roll. And she would make the 4 of us all the clothes. Okay. So we always looked very smart. Yes. And probably affluent.
Thanks to your mother.
Thanks to Rita.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And looking back now, how important, obviously because your parents were both in education.
Yeah.
How important was education in shaping who you are? And obviously you went to a university in Hammersmith.
Well, I would say, as I said, they were so young. They were growing up as we were growing up.
Yeah.
So there was no real sitting down with a book and teaching us like they did to to countless students. But I suppose, like every family, you learn through their morals and their values, and that's more of a life lesson to just be a decent person, really.
And that's what the core is. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just be polite to everybody. Treat people how you want to be treated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. And now going back to Acton, how would you describe the sense of community when you were younger, living in Acton?
Going back, well, if I could go back again, I keep going back, but it's like the whole story.
Yeah.
So Cardra Street, and then we moved to Molina Road, which is literally 200 yards away. It's just the other side of the Goldwalk Road. Both places, back in those days, there were hardly any cars. There's probably one car in each road. And the community each road was your village. Everybody who lived in that road, the doors weren't locked.
You knew your neighbours.
Everybody knew everybody. And if a stranger walked down the road, they would be stared at.
You would know that they're not.
They would know that they're in somebody's village. And as kids, you wouldn't dare go and play in the next street a game of football unless you were invited. Yeah. That was their street. Cricket, football, you played in your street. And that was the sense of community. Everybody knew each other. Everybody looked after each other. So I left Shepherd's Bush, Molina Road, at the age of 7 and moved to East Acton. And it was still very much, there just seemed to be more children around in those days. Everybody played out in the street or in the park. And there was more of a sense of community. And I was actually surprised, going back there. I met an old school friend and I was introduced, it was in the Bakers, and I was introduced to his mum. And she said, "How long have you been here?" And at that time, I'd been living there for over 20 years. I'd never seen her, never seen her. And she lived, 300 yards away.
But she knew
never
who
bumped
you were,
into her. No, she didn't. Well, she knew who I was through her son, talking about us. So times have changed, and I find communities are not as close as they were, in my opinion.
So going back, when you drive through Acton or you come visit Acton, what's kind of changed? What have you noticed has changed over the years?
Very little has changed, really. There's been a few developments, like the Barbara Speaks School, the Goldsmith pub. These are like big apartment blocks now. But Acton Park, the Vale Flats, Bromyard, where I used to go to school in Faraday in Bromyard Avenue. That has now changed. That's now, I think it's still the King Fahd Academy.
Okay.
The school that I went to, comprehensive school, was it was part of a Panorama documentary.
Oh yeah.
And they closed the school down shortly after the documentary because they felt it was a failing school. But I had a great time there. So.
Tell me a bit about, I know last time we spoke, you mentioned a door with a bird that used to go under the door.
Right, so...
Tell us, yeah.
So when I was in Molina Road, I went to the infant school, was Coverdale, Miles Coverdale. And there's like a square playground and just a wall and a door in the wall, which as a young child, looked unusual to me. Because it was obviously a wall. There was a building behind it, but there was just this door, and I was curious about it. And yes, I did see a bird go underneath it, and I wondered what was on the other side. And then years later, when I went to college, and I was walking around the side of the college, I noticed a door in a wall, and I looked up, and I could see Miles Coverdale School behind it. And then I realised that was the door I was looking at all those years ago. I mean, I never got to go through the door. It was always locked.
So, I mean, some of your childhood homes, you know, when you started art, you know, what kind of space did you have? Did you have like an art room, or did your parents just buy you odds and ends while you're discovering your
No, I mean, when we moved to East Acton, we lived in a 3-bedroom semi, and there were 6 of us, so there's not really a lot of space, to do it. And like I say, my dad was still renovating cars, you know. So my mum was always industrious. She made all of her own clothes, and she was a very talented, natural dress designer. And I've since realised, I didn't appreciate at the time, but she was a very skillful pattern cutter, and she just did it naturally. I mean, people go to university, college for years, and then it takes years to learn how to pattern cut. She could just look at somebody and cut it, even without taking measurements. She just had an eye where she could just make it, and everything fitted exactly perfectly.
That's probably where you get your talent from, just this natural kind of talent.
I think both of them were very creative, and like people have asked me, you know, are your parents artists or
are they sculptors?
I just think everybody's got the ability. It's just how you decide to use your ability. You can be a painter and decorator, or you could call yourself an interior designer. And that to me is like a craft. But crafts can be elevated into art.
Of course, yeah.
It just depends on how much you put into something.
And now, going to your art, obviously you started off drawing as a kid. When did you realize, and why did you choose sculpture specifically, and not painting or drawing?
There's never really a simple answer, because I didn't just do sculpture. I mean, my first memory of being encouraged to do drawing was from a nursery teacher at Miles Coverdale School, or an assistant, maybe she was an assistant. But she encouraged, and I would have been 3, under 4, and she would ask me to draw farm animals. Rudy, could you draw me a cow? Could you draw me? And somebody would come in the room, oh, Rudy, you draw a cockerel, you know. And I suppose the praise does stay with you, you know, it's an encouragement. And then I was always modelling with clay. I was always sort of top of the class in the art lessons, painting, pottery. And like I say, I went to Faraday, and it was an eye-opener. It was the first time I thought about my future, where the careers, after a couple of years, the career officer would come in, and all they talked about was a factory called CAVs, That was the only expectation they had of all these kids at the school. Not one went to university or higher education, as far as I was aware. So at the age of 12, I went to night school, and I went to Hammersmith, West London School of Art and Building, which is the school I went to do my foundation course. So at the age of 12, I'm in a new environment. I remember the woman was called Jane Coyle, and she taught me how to look. You know, they had nude models there. And she says, Rudy, that's great, but you know, it's not going to bite you. Come and, you know,
Come have a look.
so, so it's life drawing. So it opens up a new world of how to see things, how to look.
Shapes and
Everything,
and
shapes,
seeing it
light,
more,
form.
all kinds
It's you're no longer looking in art books or in museums. Now you're looking at life.
life.
And from that, it just opened up a whole world for me, that I could see a future beyond CAVs.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
but I mean, that's not to take away from my parents. Both my parents went to grammar school, and like Ron, my dad, they both won scholarships to grammar school. Rob went to a very good school, Latimer Upper, and at the age of 17, he did his national service as an Air Force officer. So he was a very capable person, as was my mum.
Yeah.
And so they also would have been a great encouragement that.
Like influence into your
an influence
artistic
and an
career.
encouragement that you could do anything you put your mind to.
Yeah.
You know,
That's the most important thing to, you know, teach your kids. Right?
Yes, yeah. Independence. So they gave us plenty of independence. But believe in yourself and believe that you can do whatever you turn your mind to.
For sure. Now, out of all of your sculptures, you've created many, huge, small, big, all shapes and sizes. Which sculpture are you most proud of? That's it.
Again, it's not a simple answer because I consider
There's many of them.
Right, my career. I consider I've got basically 3 strings to my bow. One would be decorative arts. So after I finished college, and I was at college for years and years, I did a foundation course. I went to Central School to do sculpture, fine art. I then went to Chelsea to do fine art painting. I then did a master's in mural design. So mural design encompasses ceramics, glass, stained glass, lithograph, printing, photograph, everything, sculpture, well, you know, wood, bronze, whatever. So I had a very broad grounding in the arts and in all the various medium material. So when I left college, I started up a business called Arts Incorporated, which did mainly interior work, mainly for pubs, clubs, restaurants, hotels. And I did most of the top restaurants in London, you know, Sheiky's, Wheeler's, Lafayette, Marion Franco's. And at one time, at the Royal Albert Hall, so my brother was working with me. He joined my company as well. At one time, I'm thinking, I'm earning good money, but I'm not really fulfilled. I'm not really satisfied. And I thought, why is that? I want to concentrate more on my work, and I veered more towards the sculpture.
Okay.
And that is so. That's not to say all the decorative work is not important. It's got its own importance, but it's different.
Different stages of your life.
Yes.
And the evolution of your career.
So then I really went into like commissioned work, architectural commissions, and you know, I ended up doing the horses in Piccadilly Circus, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
And running alongside that, through my whole life, I've done my own work, you know, my own personal work, which
we'll see later.
You'll see later,
Yeah,
and I'm still working out what to do with it.
Yes.
So you know, it's still in a development stage.
Yeah.
So yeah, the art side is crosses over into your like working life.
Now, I guess that pivots off to, is there a commission, a sculpture that really changed your career path? Like one that really, changed everything for you?
There was a guy called Roy Ackerman, and me and my brother got most of our work through Roy. He had a firm called Kennedy Brooks. They were a PLC company, and they had hundreds of restaurants and hotels. And at one stage, like I was saying, we got the Royal Albert Hall balcony restaurant and bar. And up until that point, we'd just done individual pieces like bars or mirrors or painted sculpture, whatever. And I said to Roy, can we tender for the whole project? So we do everything. We give you a concept, we go in. I mean, basically, he asked me to do 7 busts for the Royal Albert Hall of Kings of England. And I didn't feel like doing them.
You didn't feel like
so thinking on my feet, yeah. I thought, well, I don't really want to do this. But, Roy had been so good to me that I didn't want to let him down. So I said, well, what about, I wanted to do something different.
Yeah.
So I floated the idea, could we give you a price for the whole job? And then it would be down to me to come up with a concept. And I did that, and it was very, everything, it went down very well. Everybody loved it. But I thought, well, this is a very prestigious job, but I'm not really feeling that great job satisfaction.
Yeah.
I'd done all I knew, because when I went to the college in Lime Grove, West London, the sculpture department is right next door to the bricklayers department. Okay. So I knew the bricklayers, I knew the technicians. The plasterers workshop was above, so I knew all the plasterers, and I had like lifelong friendship with the technicians there. So I could get the building work done through all these connections.
Yeah.
But it wasn't satisfying enough for me. So that's why I went into the sculpture. And I said to Roy, I explained it to him. I didn't want to just let him down. I said, look, my brother would take over. I want to concentrate on sculpture. And he said, okay. And the next job, he gave me a job, and he said, do whatever you like. And it was for a restaurant, the Braganza restaurant in Frith Street. Okay. So that was really the turning point of going from being an interior designer to thinking sculpturally for the first time.
Yeah.
And then that job led on to the City Crusader, and the Crusader led on to the Horses of Helios. Yeah.
That is amazing. The next question I've wanted to always ask you is, what kind of challenges, because these are life-size sculptures.
Yeah.
We're going to see a lot of them now, but what are the challenges that come with making huge sculptures? And probably tons, right? But
yeah. It's like anything, it's like, I suppose, anything. Climbing Mount Everest. You don't attempt Everest on your first go. You start off on hills and move your way up. So, and I am the type of sculptor or artist. I never use technicians or helpers. I do everything myself, even the clearing up and getting the material in and getting rid of it.
Sweeping at the end, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I just like to do things at my pace, in my time. I don't have to answer to anybody, and that's how I work. So when you're confident, it's like you challenge yourself, and you learn the most things from the things you can't do, and then you have to stick at it and really be determined to master or conquer that what you cannot do.
Yeah, failure is key.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you keep going and going. Once you've mastered it, it's like a light switch. Suddenly, you can see a little bit more. You're a bit higher up. You can see more of the landscape. So there are challenges, but it's like anything. You're not really reinventing the wheel. Other people have done it. You can learn by their example. Yeah. And especially now, with the internet, you could go online and not that I
YouTube,
have,
right?
not that I do, but that's how you learn.
Yeah, for sure. And And looking back across your work, obviously we know what themes have kind of stuck, and I guess why that theme being animals.
Yeah, I would say that my main interest is animals, but the exhibition I'm working on at the moment, I would say it's more about us, the human condition, and it's related to animals. I mean, I've read one quote, and it just made me think. It's a Chinese proverb, and it said, "So long as the animals are crying out in the night from slaughterhouses, humans will never find peace." And that quote just made me think, is that true? I mean, it's such an impossibility. The whole world changed to being a vegetarian or vegan.
Vegan, yeah.
Would everybody be happier?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just an idea.
Yeah.
So that triggered me in the exhibition I would like to put on now, and I'm sort of almost there. I've got one more piece to finish.
Yes.
And I will show you the pieces of it,
Okay.
because it's just in fragments.
Yes.
But once I finish that, I hope to have an exhibition, and then go on to doing really beautiful animals.
Well, Rudy, I'm really excited to go have a walk around your studio. Should we go have a look? Once you've done your clay figure, should we
Yes.
call it, then you obviously send it off to go get bronzed, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And does that take quite a while? How long does it take for the bronze?
The bronze, it's usually at least minimum of 3 months for a small bronze. A large bronze like the horses, they could, it could take over 6 months or 7 or 8 months even.
Yeah, depends on the size.
Depends
right?
on the size and
Yeah.
how busy they are.
I do want to talk a bit about, well, just tell me a little bit about Prince Charles when you did that. When you did that for Prince Charles, that sculpture.
Well, that was a commission for the Royal College of General Practitioners, so the doctors, and he's their patron or president.
And you presented it to him.
So yeah. I was asked if I was interested to do the job, and I said, well, if I get a sit-in, do I get a sit-in? And how much of the story do you want to know?
Well, let's go have a look at it, and you can talk a bit about it, okay? But let's look at these first. I mean, look at the sizes of these. It's just magnificent. So tell us about this horse on the wave.
Right, the horse is one of the horses actually from Piccadilly Circus. He's one of the Horses of Helios.
Oh, is he?
And when I made him,
Yeah.
he's as you look at the composition, he's the horse on the far left,
Gotcha.
and he's leaping, taking off. And I always wanted to put him as if he's leaping into the sky.
Yes.
And the challenge was, well, how do I get him up there? And I thought, well, the wave is like the Horses of Helios represent energy.
Yes.
The cosmos, the sun, and these are like elemental forces coming together, and they're just kissing.
It is amazing.
So,
it is amazing. And I want to talk about this elephant. I know you said you used five tons of clay.
I think it was. I
more?
think it was 7 tons of clay.
7 tons. Sorry,
it was
7
7 tons of clay.
7 tons of clay.
They come in a pallet, 1 ton per pallet, and there were 7 pallets.
How long did it take you to do this, from start to finish?
It's difficult to know because I start something, and then I may cast it a year later or mould it.
Okay.
So it's not over a couple of years.
There's no time frame.
I don't really keep a.
Yeah, you're not racing to a finish.
No,
you're just doing it.
It takes as long as it takes.
Yeah.
But like I say, I did all the mould making and the casting on this.
Yeah.
So if it were to go to a foundry, then they would take over and do the bronze.
Of course.
But to get to the fiberglass, I do it all myself.
You do it all yourself.
Yeah. A writer called Brian Sewell, he used to do an art piece weekly in the Evening Standard. And for some reason, a group of artists, like top artists in this country, got together. I think he was the first person to be cancelled because they wrote to the Evening Standard and said, we don't like this guy, get rid of him. And they did. And Brian Sewell, to me, was a fantastic writer. I mean, people have got opinions. You don't have to agree with everything. You know, it would be a mad world if you did agree with everything. It would be boring. One thing artists must have is freedom of expression. Without that, you're nothing. And for these artists to get together to ban, he was an artist, Brian Sewell was an artist, he was a writer, he was a better artist than all of them put together. And for them to get together and ban him, I just thought it was disgraceful. And a couple of years later, I read an article that he'd got cancer and he didn't have long to live. So I wrote him a letter of support and just thanking him, because I used to laugh out loud at his writing. And I just wrote him a letter and I addressed it the best art critic in the country, somewhere in Wimbledon. And it got to him. And he wrote back and he laughed and he said, "What a fantastic address." I said, "I'm just writing a book." And it was the only book he wrote that didn't have anything to do with art. And it was about rescuing a donkey from Egypt, and he brought it back. You know, it's like a novel, but he put himself in the novel. And he brought this donkey back and rescued it. And he called it the White Umbrella. And I think that is because an umbrella gives protection. I don't know really the significance, but I think an umbrella, protection from rain and the elements from the sun. Now this little guy is Peanut. My son rescued him from Peanut, his actual dog, he looks like him. Rescued him from Vietnam, brought him back to the country. Brian Sewell always had rescue dogs as well. So I thought, well, I'll put them together, I'll give them company. So that's how this piece has come about.
Yeah. So yeah, we've got all of the sculptures. Massive.
This is called Struggle. And it's, you know, these are two of the top predators in the animal world. And they do fight to the death. And it just makes me think, God, their life is such a struggle. And then we come along, you know, humans come along and take away their land or hunt them for pleasure. Yeah. And you just think, God, they've got everything stacked against them.
Right.
So it's a struggle for life. You know?
Yeah, and they're fighting against each other and us at the same time.
This one is called an ivory poacher struck by a meteorite. So,
I mean, it's
a literal.
It's literally that. This is one of my favorites. I just love how it's done. I mean, that's real size. That's a proper silverback gorilla.
Yeah, that's a big silverback. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I would make it in clay.
Yeah.
And then I'd take a mould from the clay. And a cast from the mould, and this is what I make for myself. This is they call it a master, you know, studio. This is
the master. Okay.
That is then taken to a foundry. They remold it, and they cast it by the lost wax process. So they need a rubber mould. They invest the bronze into the lost wax.
Okay.
And
then you get this back once they're done.
Yeah, because that's my copy. Yeah.
Yeah. And you presented it to Prince Charles at the time. Now he's King Charles. But
now he's King Charles.
Yeah, now he's King Charles. And this is this another?
That was my first boxer. That was Ben. And he's outside of the Battersea Dogs Home.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the master.
That's the master again. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, again, that's fiberglass. The one outside is bronze. So it's, you know, lasts just weathers.
And this is one of the.
This is one of the prototypes for the Three Graces.
For the Three Graces, above the Horses of Helios.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is beautiful. Homeless forest destroyed. Again, humans taking over.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you got the bullfighting over here. Just watch your step here.
Yeah, mind your step.
So now this is going into the...
this one, sorry.
No.
This is important for this piece because it really sums up my feelings about bullfighting. And it's malevolent, twisted suit of light, terrified, tortured bull forced to fight, strange, horrific, haunting sight reveals man's pathetic bullying might. No, it can be part of the exhibition, but it's not part of that piece.
Oh, okay.
All the pieces in the background would be, it's the last piece of this exhibition. So it's in sections, it all has to be put together.
Tell us a bit about this one.
Well,
was this just an idea where you were sitting on your couch and you're like, I want to make 3 gorillas?
no, this one sort of evolved.
I love it, yeah.
I had a general idea. I used to have a pub called the Cross Keys in Chelsea, and the Cross Keys, they symbolise the keys that were given to St. Peter to the kingdom of heaven. And I made like a garden scene, like the kingdom of heaven, and I put it on the outside of the pub.
Okay.
And I thought, you know, when people get together, they like to tell stories. They like to, you know, communicate.
Of course, yeah.
And where does anything come from? Like all the philosophy or the great ideas of religion. It comes from people getting together and enjoying themselves and talking. And I think the animal kingdom are no different from us.
No.
You hear birds song in the morning, they're communicating with one another.
Yeah.
And this piece, I can imagine the gorillas having a chat and contemplating between themselves.
Yeah.
They've seen this bird. The bird's dead and the maggots and flies landed.
Yeah.
And so you've got the cycle of life.
And they're just sitting there.
You've got life and you've got death. And these are aware of it. I think animals are equally, maybe even more so, of life and death than we are.
For sure.
Because they're right on the
A lot
cutting
more in
edge.
touch with
They're
nature.
right in touch with
Yeah.
it. So these 3 gorillas are just contemplating life and death.
It's beautiful. I love it. All right, Rudy. Yeah, well, thank you very much for showing us around your studio.